Montreal is one of those cities that wraps its arms around you the moment you cross into it. Part Parisian elegance, part North American hustle, all soul. It clings to the banks of the mighty St. Lawrence River, a city that has been witnessing history for over 4 centuries. This is our 24-hour getaway, and trust me, 24 hours is just enough to fall completely in love and wish you'd booked 3 nights. Let me show off what you can experience in person or vicariously while seated snugly in your armchair. Let's go. We rolled north through Vermont on Interstate 89, crossing into Quebec at the Phillipsburg border crossing, picking up Canada's Autoroute 35 North before merging onto Autoroute 10 West. As we bridged the St. Lawrence River, the Montreal skyline started announcing itself, but before dropping into the downtown because Montreal has a way of ambushing you with wonders before you even check in. The St. Lawrence River was the lifeblood of the entire North American fur trade for 2 centuries. Indigenous nations, French voyagers, and British merchants all used this exact waterway as their highway. When you cross it, you're literally driving over history. We swung south toward the waterfront to drive past Habitat 67, and honestly, nothing can quite prepare you for the sight of it. Facing the St. Lawrence, this stacked, interlocking concrete cube complex looks like a cross between a Lego fever dream and the most livable sculpture ever built. Back through the beautiful, chaotic downtown streets, we finally turned off Boulevard René Lévesque to pull into the parking garage at Hotel Faubourg. Sub-level 2 and a full-size Tahoe? Let's just say the concrete pillars got very familiar very quickly. The rooms are clean, comfortable, and the location puts you right in the heart of things. A note for fellow travelers, hotel options in Montreal span every budget imaginable, from boutique gems in Old Montreal to major chains in the downtown core. There's genuinely something for everyone. We were celebrating 2 milestones combined into one very special night, and for that, we needed somewhere extraordinary. A few blocks west and south from our hotel, we descended into the Green Line at Saint Laurent Station, riding 3 stops to Peel Station. Quick tip, hold on to your hats. Literally, the pressure vacuum created when the trains arrive through those station doors generates a genuine indoor windstorm. Your hair will have opinions about this. Bar George is tucked into the ground floor of the historic Hotel Mount Stephen, which has recently earned a Michelin star, one of only a handful of places in Montreal to achieve this recognition. We snapped photos outside the grand old world facade before stepping in a few minutes before our 7:30 reservation. Here is a little hidden tidbit. The Hotel Mount Stephen was originally built as the private mansion of Sir George Stephen, the first president of the Canadian Pacific Railway, the man who financed the Transcontinental Railroad that stitched Canada together in 1885. The building dates to 1880, and when you sit in that dining room, you're sitting in one of the most consequential private homes in Canadian history. Wow. And speaking of sitting, we had the best seat in the house, a tucked alcove by the original fireplace. The restaurant hummed with the energy of a room full of people marking occasions. I ordered the beef Wellington since this was classic UK fare. I presume this was a perfect place to try this famous dish for my first time. Great choice. Where have you eaten beef Wellington? The food presentation was architectural. The flavors, impeccable. Our compliments to the chef. A quick note on language. Quebec is officially a French-speaking province, and you will hear French everywhere. But the vast majority of Montrealers, Montrealais, are comfortable bilingual, switching effortlessly to English. The city welcomes visitors warmly in both languages. And thankfully for me, I'm trying this French thing, and I'll try and slip in a few, but, don't be too hard on me. I'm trying. I loved every part of the dinner, from the bread, hors d'oeuvres, main course, and the gorgeous desserts. This place was fantastic. After dinner, we wandered east and popped into a souvenir shop because I had committed the classic traveler's mistake of wearing fashionable shoes instead of sensible ones. They weren't even heels. But again, the wrong shoes. But realizing how I could have corrected my course the other day, I did this. I bought a pair of thick souvenir socks, put them on right there in the shop, and decided that dignity is overrated when your feet are staging a revolt. We caught the Orange Line at Bonaventure Station, riding north to drop into Old Montreal. The city at night is something else entirely. The limestone buildings glow amber. The 17th century buildings with the modern architecture as a backdrop is just breathtaking. We exited Champ de Mars and walked the park's northern pathway, looping around Place Vauquelin and past Hôtel de Ville, Montreal City Hall, an absolute architectural triumph. The most unexpected delight, a light projection mapping show playing across the towering walls of the courthouse building along the park's south end. Historic stone foundations from Montreal's earliest fortifications are exposed right there in this park. 350-year-old walls just sitting there in the open air. We came across this gorgeous sculpture. This place is so delightful to walk through at night. Champ de Mars was originally a military parade ground laid out in the late 1600s. Back to the hotel, unlike a certain previous adventure in Costa Rica. If you haven't seen my 4-part Costa Rica series, the bit about the suicide showers will explain a lot. The hot water here worked perfectly. Sunday morning, bags cleared from the room and loaded into the car because checkout was looming and the day was already full. We walked east toward the river, headed toward the Notre-Dame Basilica. This was our compass point. Mass was underway when we arrived, so we respected the service and moved on. We'd return later. Instead, we headed south along Rue Saint-Jacques to arrive at one of the most spectacular cafes I have ever set foot in. It's the Crew Collective and Café. If you do one thing in Old Montreal, make it this. The building was originally constructed in 1928 as the headquarters of the Royal Bank of Canada, and virtually every original architectural detail has been preserved. Gilded coffered ceilings, the original teller counters, the massive vaulted ceiling with its ornate plasterwork. The pastries were terrific. The coffee was excellent. When you go there, tell me what you think of the croissants. Another hidden tidbit, the Royal Bank building was designed by the New York firm York & Sawyer, the same architects behind the Federal Reserve Bank of New York. When it opened, it was the tallest building in the British Commonwealth. The space now serves as a co-working space and cafe. It is, without question, one of the most beautiful spaces I have ever had a croissant in. And you can mail a postcard from the bright red Canadian mailboxes right outside. Send one home to yourself. And the weather, which had threatened 100% chance of rain for 2 straight days, had only managed a few polite sprinkles. We'll take it. Here is a sentence I genuinely love saying. We had brunch on a boat. Our next stop was the Port of Montreal waterfront, where Croisière à Emile operates river excursions from their base at Info Excursions. The waterfront itself is worth a stroll. Dozens of attractions, markets, and touring opportunities stretch along the port, and the energy is something between a summer festival and a working harbor. Aboard the boat, a colorfully lit stairwell led us down to the dining room where a brunch spread was beautifully presented. After most guests had been served, the boat slipped away from the dock and we were on the St. Lawrence. Next hidden tidbit, this boat has been operated as a family business for over 50 years. The St. Lawrence River they navigate is no quiet waterway. At points, it reaches 30 miles wide, and its drainage basin covers half of North America. Jacques Cartier, the French explorer credited with discovering Canada for France in 1534, sailed this exact river. Samuel de Champlain founded Montreal's predecessor settlement on these banks in 1642. From the upper deck, the city revealed itself differently. Habitat 67, viewed from the water, conceived and designed by architect Moshe Safdie as his master's thesis at McGill University, then realized as a residential pavilion for Expo 67, Montreal's World's Fair. Each of the 354 units has its own terrace, and the building is actually 12 interconnected concrete forms. The concept was so radical that Safdie was only 23 years old when he proposed it. The observation tower and the port's working dockside infrastructure. The old port's iconic clock tower across the water, the rides at the amusement park on Isle Saint-Helene. Despite the gray skies, this was one of those experiences that just hums with quiet joy. After docking, we purchased tickets and entered the Notre-Dame Basilica. And I need you to understand that nothing I say here will adequately prepare you. This is the first Neo-Gothic church built in Canada, constructed between 1824 and 1829. The sanctuary was crowded with visitors, and every single one of them had gone quiet. The walls, the vaulted ceilings, every surface, hand-carved, hand-painted, gilded, breathtaking. The interior decor was inspired by Sainte-Chapelle in Paris and was completed between 1872 and 1888. Sculptures of saints, scenes from the Old Testament, architectural detailing so intricate it took 16 years to complete. I kept staring at the dates on the plaques, trying to reconcile the speed and scale of what was built. At the rear of the sanctuary, the pipe organ, built by Cathedrale of Saint-Hyacinthe, Quebec, and completed in 1891, commands the space with its nearly 7,000 pipes. Get this, the smallest is a 1/4 inch long. Tiny, 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 a 1/4 inch long. The longest stretches over 32 feet. And if that wasn't enough, here's a bigger hidden tidbit. The organ is one of the finest tracker action organs in North America. Cathedrale had been building organs since 1879 and has produced instruments for Carnegie Hall and cathedrals across 3 continents. When they built this one, Montreal had a population of under 150,000 people. The ambition of this instrument and this building in that context is staggering. I've visited a lot of houses of worship and a lot of places. I don't have a word for what this one is. Indescribable is the best I can offer, and it falls short. We could have walked straight to our car. We didn't. Instead, we rode Place d'Armes back to Bonaventure to see the Mary, Queen of the World Cathedral. Commonly known as Mary, Queen of the World Cathedral, a minor basilica whose gleaming green copper roof and Baroque facade could stop traffic on its worst day. It absolutely stopped us. A conference was in progress inside, but visitors were quietly welcome, and I stood at the back and the side to take it all in without disturbing their service. A note on transit: the Montreal Metro is efficient and well-connected, but the fares are structured by trip rather than by distance, making it one of the pricier transit systems we've used in any city. Worth it given the distances and the time we saved, but worth knowing before you go. It was time. We looped back to retrieve the car from the garage depths and pointed south. For the return, we chose a different route, dropping down through Quebec near the town of Magog, which we'd visited the previous summer. After crossing the St. Lawrence again, we took the first exit in Brossard for one absolutely non-negotiable stop for a hot dog and a mountain of poutine. Hidden tidbit? I think this will be maybe my final hidden tidbit of this video. Poutine, fries, cheese curds, and brown gravy was invented in rural Quebec in the late 1950s. The cheese curds are the non-negotiable element. They must squeak when fresh. It became a symbol of Quebec's identity and has since spread across Canada and into American menus, though nothing quite matches the original in its homeland. Consider it mandatory. The drive south through the rolling Quebec countryside was gorgeous. Farmland, forest, and rolling hills. We crossed back into the United States at the Derby Line port of entry into Vermont. Ugly shoes and dress shoes both on the ground. A pair of souvenir socks somewhere in the bag. An Unclassic Road Trip, start to finish. If this sparked something in you, if you're already pulling up flights or mapping the drive, I hope you go. Montreal will meet you more than halfway. Please subscribe. It genuinely helps more than you know. Leave a comment. What stop would you make first? And if you know someone who needs Montreal in their life, share this with them. Until the next Unclassic Road Trip, I do want to encourage you to go back and watch my series on our trip to Costa Rica, and I have other videos on great day trips into Canada.